Hi friends, it's Jenny. I'm here for another sit down video, but there is also going to be a segment in a little bit where we're going to be doing some cash stuffing together, and I will show you guys my process for cash stuffing and walk you through what I'm doing for budgeting this month. So this is a little bit of a different video to what you're probably used to from me because I generally have never talked about money or budgeting before. But it is the first of the month and I always budget on the first of the month. This is a practice that I've been doing much more intentionally for the last year or so. And I'm actually trying a new practice this month as a way of really buckling down on my budgeting, taking my money management a lot more seriously, and trying to be much more in tune with my spending habits. And that new method is cash stuffing. So for those of you who don't know anything about cash stuffing, I'm going to be explaining it a little bit in this video and showing you how I'm going to be cash stuffing for the month of May. The fact that I am a person who is really into slow and intentional living, you would think that this type of person probably isn't too concerned with money and is not spending tons of money because, you know, the slow living life, you think, oh, you don't need very much. You're living simply. You're not, you know, maybe out shopping and buying unnecessary things all the time. But just because I really like slow intentional living doesn't mean that I don't also spend money and that I don't also need to be really intentional about how I spend money because of my lifestyle, because I do want to keep my life simpler, and because of that, I don't want to be constantly dealing with the emotional weight of having debt, of overspending, of worrying about whether or not I will be able to continue to afford my lifestyle. These are things that are counterproductive to the life that I want to lead. And so that is why budgeting is actually a really important thing to embrace and to become a lot more competent at, especially now because I am, you know, I'm coming up on 4 years since my ex-husband and I separated. Since I became a single woman, a part-time single mom now, I have had to face, for the first time in my life, I did have a portion when I first got out of college when I was living by myself in New York City. I was paying for my life. I didn't have support from my family really. So, you know, I really was doing it all on my own at that point, but I was not conscious at all about budgeting, money, responsibility, intentional living, any of that stuff at that point. I was just scraping by as a struggling actress and server slash bartender in New York City at that point in time. I was definitely living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't have the money to pay my rent every single month. I was not making some wise choices at that time. Fast forward all these years later, and I was 38 years old when my ex-husband and I separated, and I had to face really for the first time, like the seriousness of finances and being financially responsible and what it meant to really have to be the sole provider for my family. I don't have a partner, I don't have another income or anyone else who I can fall back on. So that really introduced a lot of feelings of fear and anxiety when it came to money for me. Things that I had probably just swept under the rug for a long time, not wanting to have to deal with. And finally, it was like, I'm in this place where I don't have a choice but to take it seriously and to finally actually work on myself and my relationship to money, the way that I'm spending, the debt that I have, and I need to have a plan for how to deal with all of these things. And so that's kind of why I figured this video might be interesting to you guys, because our relationship with money is reflected so clearly in the situation we find ourselves in when it comes to spending and debt and our lifestyle. And so, you know, for the first point, when it came to my relationship with money, I started by doing some shadow work style journaling exercises about my beliefs about wealth, money, abundance, and all of that. In doing that, I discovered that I had some pretty strong limiting beliefs about money and success and wealth in my life. And a lot of this was things that were developed in my childhood, mindset that my family and my parents had toward money, the way that they spoke about money and wealth and success in my household. I, of course, absorbed all of that as a young person. And I grew up really feeling this limitation toward my own success. I kind of believed subconsciously and to a certain extent consciously that I would just never be a very successful person financially, that I was going to be someone who had a different life path. I wasn't going to have a traditional job that made me a certain amount of money, so I wouldn't really have this prestige. And that was okay. The mindset in my home was very much that it is good to be a middle class, simple, person who doesn't have a lot of money. Like, we're totally fine without having tons of money. We don't need money to be happy. And in fact, being wealthy and successful is a bad thing. Like, there were definitely judgments that I learned about people who had wealth and success being bad people I shouldn't look up to or aspire to be. So being just like this mediocre, middle of the road, not asking too much from any one type of person was the type of ethos that I grew up believing because I had just absorbed it from my environment. And so when I found myself coming out on my own and realizing that I really had a lot of ambition and dreams that I hadn't really allowed myself to realize when I was younger because of that limiting belief about what I could achieve in life, I was suddenly like, but wait a second, I do want all of these things for myself. I want to be successful, maybe not traditionally successful, but successful in my own way. I certainly want to be abundant in my life and having all of the good things in my life that I believe that I deserve. And financial abundance is part of that. And I believe that I deserve financial abundance. And I also deserve to live a life that is happy and easeful and full of passionate things, and that my career should be a reflection of all of the things that I'm passionate about that make me happy and fulfilled in life. That's the life that I want and that I believe that I deserve. But it took me a long time to get to the point where I could actually believe that inside. I've done a lot of affirmations. I've written my own wealth and money affirmations that sort of counteract those limiting beliefs, and I've said those and journaled on them often. I wrote a letter to money once that was a really wonderful exercise. And I wrote this letter to money and I was like, "Dear money," and I explained to it that like, you and I haven't always gotten along, and like I pretty much pretended you didn't exist for a long time. And I used to believe this and this and this about you, but I want to change our relationship. I want you to know that I love you, money. I want you to know that I appreciate you. I recognize you as this form of energy that I have every right to connect with and bond with and find myself in the same frequency with. And so I am calling you into my life and I am welcoming you and I'm excited to play with you, money. And so that letter was really fun to write. And then I started doing things like every time I made money or my paycheck came in or I would get a freelance job maybe or something like that, I would just be like, "Thank you, money. Oh my gosh, money, I'm so excited to play with this money that's coming into my life. I'm so thankful for you." Like just really positive energy putting out there toward any type of financial abundance that was coming to me. And then, of course, when I'm spending money, I'm saying to myself, every dollar that I spend comes back to me tenfold. Like, it's nothing. I'm not upset about spending this money. I don't really feel anything about spending this money except grateful that I have this money to spend right now and excited to see it come back into my life in another form. And so those are some of the ways that I've been working on my relationship with money. Now, in a more practical sense, I started using the budgeting software YNAB, which is You Need a Budget. I've been using You Need a Budget for about 1.5 years, and I really like this software. It is a yearly subscription, but it's been really helpful for me to like actually connect all of my accounts so I can see every dollar that I'm spending, and every dollar that I spend, I have to reconcile for it. So I have to be like, I have to actually look at my bank account and say, YNAB will show me all of my charges for every card I have, for my checking account. And I'll have to say, okay, well, actually that $28 that I spent at CVS was for this, and I have a budget for all of the different areas of my life. So if I had budgeted, you know, $80 for personal spending, and that $28 was part of my personal spending, that ticks off, you know, $28 from that budget for the month, and YNAB will show me all of the money that I've budgeted and then all of the money that I've spent. The problem with that system is that I was still using credit cards and my checking account for everything that I spent, every dollar. So every dollar was going on a credit card or coming out of my checking account. And even though in YNAB I could say I'm budgeting $80 for personal spending, that wasn't going to stop my credit card from charging things. That wasn't going to stop me from spending money over that $80 if I wanted to. You know, like there's nothing stopping me from putting more money than that $80 on my credit card in personal spending that month. And so I found that even though I am more conscious of the money that I'm spending, I am going over budget in a couple categories in a really big way. And the good thing is I can recognize now, because I have this system, where I'm overspending. So I am way overspending on my home projects, I am way overspending on eating out, and I'm way overspending on personal products that I'm buying mostly for my like more holistic living. I buy a lot of natural face care, skin care, hair care products. I know that I'm overspending in a lot of these places. So even though I'm budgeting this money, I'm still putting a lot of money on my credit card every month, and I'm not necessarily paying that off every month. So my credit card balance has been growing. So now I've decided I need to get a lot more serious about actually budgeting the actual money that I'm spending. So enter cash stuffing into my life. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about this and doing some prep work over the last month to make sure that I am ready to go for my first month of cash stuffing. Now, admittedly, I am an elder millennial, and the thought of having to pay for things in my life at a store in person with a cashier in cash does not appeal to me. I would much rather go to the self-checkout lane and pay with a credit card for every single thing that I need in the world, or I'd rather buy it online because it's so much easier. But therein lies the rub. Convenience shopping on the internet and being able to do things like just order whatever I need from Amazon are the reasons why I'm overspending. It is so easy to make these purchases and to not really think about it. So I'm spending money clicking on ads on Instagram and buying this face oil because it looked good on Instagram. I shop on Amazon almost every day. As a homeowner, I'm always thinking of, oh, I need this, oh, I need that, oh, I could do this for this project or whatever. I have a million home projects going on right now. So the home project overspending is for real. And I'm honestly just like every single day, I need more things from Amazon. So I just keep shopping. And that convenience is one of the reasons why I'm overspending and why I have more personal debt than I would like right now. So I am tackling it by cash stuffing. And the premise, to get into the cash stuffing section of this, the premise of cash stuffing is that in order to pay down debt, and I will be doing a snowball method to pay down my debt. I have 2 credit cards, I have a car loan, and I have my home loan for my mortgage. Those are the only 4 debts that I have in my life right now, which is a lot better than a lot of people. I don't have any student loans, you know, so like I'm really thankful for that. But in order to pay all of those down, I'm going to be doing a snowball method. So I have 2 credit cards. I'm going to start with the lowest credit card. I'm going to pay that credit card off as quickly as possible. And I'm going to make minimum payments on the rest of those 3 other debts until I've paid that first credit card off. That money will then go into my other credit card, and I will pay that credit card as much money as I can throw at it every month until I've paid it off. And then that money will go into my car loan and the yada, yada, yada. So every month now I'm sitting down and looking at how much income do I have coming in. And I do have a certain amount of stable income, and then I have an unknown amount of income because I have an Etsy store and I have freelance work that I do every month that brings in extra money. And I say, okay, this is the money that I have for the month. And I have budgeted out and figured out exactly how much money goes on my credit card in monthly subscriptions. These are things that unfortunately really can't be paid with cash. I have nowhere to go to send cash to Netflix to pay for my Netflix subscription. So I have figured out the amount of monthly spending that goes on my credit card for services that I cannot pay with cash. That is going to be set aside to stay in my checking account to pay on that credit card. Then I have the amount of money that comes out of my checking account every month. Same deal. This is my utilities, my heating and internet and phone bills. As soon as money goes into my account at the beginning of the month, I know that that amount of money is going to be staying in my checking account so that it's there for those bills to come out. And then we've come to my cash. So then I'm going to be doing a cash draw for the month for all of the money that I am budgeting to be spent in cash on my daily expenses. Daily expenses meaning things that I can pay for in my life in cash because I am purchasing them in person. And I can avoid this money going on my credit card as it usually would. So this is things like paying for personal spending at stores, groceries, gas, home projects, because I buy a lot of like things at Lowe's and whatever, the Ace Hardware month by month, and I can pay for those things in cash. My babysitter fund, my pet supplies, there's just a certain amount of the budget that I've gone through and I've said, okay, these categories can be paid for in cash. So I've pulled that money out of my bank. I have it in cash in this binder. This is my cash stuffing binder. And in my cash stuffing binder, and I'll show you more about this later, I have different envelopes for every category of this budgeted spending. So my food, my dining out, my gas money, pet care, and so and so. And so the money that I'm budgeting in each of these categories will go into the envelopes for them. And that is how I will be paying for anything that is earmarked as cash spending throughout this month. And yes, each category has its own budget. So I have, $60 for pet care, or $100 for eating out, or $250 for home supplies, etc. I'll show you more detail later. So that is how the cash spending is going to work. Yes, it's going to be cringy to pay for things in cash. As I said before, as an elder millennial, I'm not very excited about it, but I think it's going to be good for me because I'm going to have to actually be really intentional about the money that I'm spending in these categories. Because if I am sitting at home and I'm feeling lazy one day and I'm just like, oh, maybe I'll just order out dinner and I'll get on Grubhub and order Chinese food or something, I'm spending that money going on my credit card. I don't have to think about it. But if I'm sitting at home feeling lazy one day and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll order out dinner, I better be ready to drive to that place and pick up my order to pay for it in cash before I place that order, or else I'm not doing it. I'm gonna, because then I'll have to look in this binder and say, do I have the money to order Chinese food right now? And if I don't, then I can't do it. That's the whole purpose of a budget, to actually budget out a certain amount of money and then stop doing that thing once you've run out of the money. I can't believe I've come to this, but I feel like this is probably, I feel like you guys can understand this. This is probably very common and everybody does it and whatever, but I just rather just buy things and not think about it, wouldn't you? If my budget for home spending and home projects is $250, that's all the money I'm going to spend on home projects that month, and everything I'm buying, I have to actually go out and get. This way, I'm stopping myself from just willy-nilly ordering anything from the internet on a whim, because I have to be intentional when I'm going to the store and spending the money on it in person and having to actually talk to a cashier and give them my money. So it's not going to be the most comfortable month of my life, but I am excited about it because I really think it's actually going to make a huge difference in my ability to pay down my existing personal debt, because I won't be putting all of this money on my credit card every month. My credit card payment will actually be the amount of money that I'm actually putting on my credit card because I've budgeted for that money, and then additional money to pay down the balance. So out of my checking account every month, is coming the money that I've earmarked for checking expenses like my utilities. is coming the money for my credit card. But then, you know, I've got the payment of each credit card. That's coming out of my checking account and that's budgeted for. And each of those payments will be more than what I'm putting on the credit card so that my credit card balance doesn't grow. It's amazing. So anyway, I am looking forward to trying it, and I hope that I can get over the cringe and how uncomfortable it's going to feel at first to have to limit my spending to what I have in this binder and only that. I'm assuming that there are going to be unexpected things come up and I will deal with them as they come. I have a little bit of extra slop that I've planned for to stay in my checking account so that I have extra money if any unforeseen expenses come up. I do also have a savings account and an emergency savings account as well. So a little bit of the money from my income this month is also earmarked for my emergency spending fund, which I'm building up, and my investments. I invest every month into a brokerage account, so that will be happening. And then I have an extra savings account that has a little bit of extra slot money in it for my true expenses, things like oil payments, oil deliveries, and my savings for Christmas and my upcoming trip to Disney World this October. All right, so here we are. It's time for the exciting part, the actual cash stuffing in my new cash stuffing envelope. I got this on Amazon in case you were wondering. It is cute. It's got all these cute little flowers on it. And it comes with all of the envelopes that you can label. It comes with a bunch of labels, and you can kind of decide which labels are applicable to your envelopes. And then you can also write in categories if there aren't already enough there. It also has room for some cards and a fold for some cash and budget sheets so you can keep track of your individual budgets for each of the categories. So getting started, I went to the ATM this morning and got out all of the money for my cash stuffing for the month. To get started, let's stuff these envelopes with some cash, and this is what I will be using for my entire eating out budget or dining out budget, my entire grocery budget, my gas budget, and so forth. So I've figured out these categories ahead of time. I have $900 to stuff today for the entire month. And so we're going to start with our groceries. The grocery budget that I gave myself was $250 for the month. So let's count it out. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 20, 40, and 50. So dining out is the next category. I gave myself $120 for dining out this month. 20, 40, 60, 80, 120. Now, hopefully this will be good motivation to not go out more than I need to. I tend to order food out at least once a week, and I do go out for dinner or drinks with friends sometimes, and I've just been overspending a bit, so I'm hoping that this is really going to help me reel in my spending when it comes to dining out. So next is gas. I've got $100 for gas, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 for gas. Next is pet care. My pet supplies budget is $60, 20, 40, 60. So my labels here are kind of weird. I have personal spending and maintenance shopping. There was just a label that said maintenance and a label that said shopping, but there wasn't a label that said like household. But really maintenance shopping is for my household spending. So household spending, I'm giving myself $150. So that is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 50. And this is for all of my home care, home projects, home supplies, that type of stuff. Personal spending is the next category. That's 100. So that's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Personal spending, as I said before, I've been spending a lot of money on personal care products, skin and hair and face oils and things like that. And clothing and things that I really don't need to be spending a lot of money on. I like to think of myself as a little bit more minimal when it comes to that. So 100 should be more than enough for my personal spending for the month. If I'm spending more than $100 on just myself, then there's a problem there. But the last category is for babysitting. I have 120 for babysitting this month. 20, 40, 60, 80, 120. So that's all of the cash for the month. I do go out several times a month requiring a babysitter, and my babysitters only take cash. So I'm always struggling to not have enough cash around to pay my babysitter in the first place. So I'm happy that I will now not have an issue because I will have plenty of cash on hand to pay my babysitter when I need them. So I think the budget sheets are going to be really helpful, as are these cash envelopes. I'm excited to be starting and trying this system. So that is how cash stuffing is going for me this month, and I will update you guys to see how it went at the end of the month. Hopefully I will have a little bit of leftover to roll over into next month's budget, but we're going to start with this and see how it goes. I'm excited. You have just gotten a very detailed snapshot of my finances, but I hope that it was helpful for you to sit down and have a little chit chat about money management and dealing with your maybe not so perfect relationship with money, and how to approach finances, especially for my fellow single ladies or single moms out there, or single dads. It's something that, like, you know, people who make beautiful aesthetic videos on YouTube about slow living and all of this stuff, like, we don't really talk about much, but it costs money to have this certain type of aesthetics that you want. You know, if people who watch these videos are like me, are really into this style of living, this kind of cottagecore, slow living aesthetic, homesteading and all of that stuff, it's all great. And I think everybody has the ability to create the life of their dreams and live in the type of environment that they want, and to make it beautiful and incredible and perfect for them. But there's also a realistic element to that people don't really talk about as much, in that it costs money to create a lot of the beautiful aesthetic homes that you see on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, you know? Just this last month, I've been doing some landscaping because I'm trying to create a new garden, and I'm really working on building on my vegetable garden this year, and I'm moving around some of the rocks on my property to create a sort of a different aesthetic with my landscape. And not all of those things cost money, but some of them cost a lot of money. Making a new garden is actually quite expensive. And, you know, there's a bunch of people on the internet who are just like, look at my beautiful, incredible cottage house and my villa and my gardens and my all of this stuff. And it's really wonderful to have those as inspiration and to be able to appreciate the hard work that people put into creating them. But it also costs money. It just does. And it's not something that's as easily attained for those of us who aspire to that certain type of lifestyle if we aren't honest with ourselves, and if we're not proactive about actually taking care of our finances in order to create the ability for that type of abundance in our life so that we can create the beautiful aesthetic home of our dreams. It starts with mindset, and it starts with understanding how you relate to money and your beliefs about money at the basic level in your subconscious. How do you feel about money? Do you believe that money can come to you? Do you believe that you deserve money? And going from there, you know, you've got to take practical steps in order to actually put yourself in a position to have all of that abundance flow into your life. And part of that is getting to a place where you are ready to accept that abundance, and then being able to hold on to it by having good money management practices and an infrastructure in place to make sure that you can stay responsible and hold on to that money and use that money in order to create the life of your dreams and to find real fulfillment in your environment and the things that you bring into it. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on why I felt like it was kind of important to talk about this, not just because it was a fun video idea because I happened to be doing my cash stuffing today. But either way, I hope that you've enjoyed this talk, or that it's at least been helpful for you to hear a little bit of someone's perspective on budgeting as a single mom or a woman who is trying to, now at 41 years old, create the home of her dreams, and who's in the process, but I'm not there yet, but I'm hopefully gonna get there. And also trying to sort of take control of her life and level up in a lot of ways. This is where the real adulting comes in. I'll try to get back to, you know, inspirational videos about the magic of spring soon. But in the meantime, thank you for watching and listening. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in the next one. I'm Jenny, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.